today's episode, we will discuss about software interrupts and priority of the interrupts. Software interrupt, what is software interrupt? So, based on the name you can identify the interrupts are activated by the software. Software means set of instructions. So, we have some specific instructions to enable the interrupt. So, what are the types of interrupts available for software? Then how we are activating the software interrupts will be discussed in detail. Along with that, priority of the interrupts. Suppose more than single interrupt is active or send the high signal to the processor couldn't process the interrupt all. So, for that time we have to assign the priority which interrupt to be processed first. So, we will discuss both software interrupt and priority of the interrupts in detail. So, first the software interrupts, the interrupts are activated by software. It has 8 instructions which are named as RST restart, and also it have a RST 0, RST 1, RST 2 till RST 7. These 8 instructions are single byte instructions. The instruction execution is like a call instruction. What is call instruction execution? So, during the main program, after occurring the call instruction, it will be switch over to the subprogram. Then it will be returned back after executing the subprogram to the main program. The same thing here, it will switch over to the interrupt service routine, which interrupt request the service will be loaded as a program, that is the interrupt service routine. So, it will be passed to the interrupt service routine, then it will be back to the main program after reading the return instruction. That is why it compared with the call instruction, which is similar to the call instruction. So, in 8085 we have 8 instructions which are RST 0, RST 1, RST 2 till RST 7. So, once we have identified the instructions, then we have to generate the interrupt vector address. This is a non-vector interrupt address because it does not know the specific address. So, after identifying the interrupt, we have to calculate the address of each interrupt. How we are calculating means the interrupt number is multiplied with 8, then converted into the hexa equivalent. That is the address of the corresponding interrupt. That address is called as the interrupt service routine address. That address is calculated by the external device. That is why it named as a non-vector address. Suppose you have a interrupt 1. So, 1 into 8 which is a 8. Actually the memory address are represented in 4 digits, that is why we are adding 0 0. Suppose for 2 means 2 into 8. Once the interrupt is identified, we have to multiply it with the 8. So, 2 into 8 is 16. We could not write as it is. This it should be converted into the hexa equivalent. For converting hexa equivalent, we have to divide it by 16. So, the divide by 16, quotient is 1, remainder is 0. So, finally, we have to write the number as 1 0. So, adjust the positions, we are adding 0 0. Similar way, we are calculating the address for all interrupts. So, this dry state buffer will show the how to generate the opcode for the RST instruction. So, here the buffer has the 8 input lines and 8 output lines. The input lines are connected to the interrupt line, 8 inputs which are connected to the interrupt I0 to I7. The input lines are connected to the plus 5 volts, output lines D0 to D7 are connected to the data lines of processor. If any one of the input signal is low, then the corresponding interrupt is identified as active. So, here interrupt is I0, I1, I2, I3, I4. So, from that we can identify I4 is active. So, we have to write the low signal for the I4, remaining signals are high level, then we can read it as a hexadecimal which is a EFH value. So, same thing is repeated for the remaining interrupts. If any one of the interrupt is low, it represents that interrupt is active, remaining signals are high, then you write its corresponding binary equivalent as hexa. This diagram shows the timing diagram for the RST instruction. In the RST instruction has 3 machine cycles M1, M2 and M3. In the M1 machine cycle, it has 6 T states, M2 has 3 T state and M3 have 3 T states. So, this timing diagram has 3 machine cycles M1, M2 and M3. 3 machine cycles. In M1 it has 6 T states from T1 to T6. In M2 T1 to T3 3 T states and M3 also having T1 to T3 3 T states. So, totally how many T states for RST instruction? We have to count the number of T states in all mission cycles. So, totally 6 plus 3 plus 3 12 T states. Suppose you want to calculate the execution time for RST instruction, then what you will do? First we have to count the number of T states, then it will be multiplied by the internal clock frequency of the corresponding processor. Now we are discussing with the 8085. So, its operating frequency is 3 megahertz. So, 1 by 3 megahertz is 0.33 microseconds. So, 0.33 microsecond is multiplied with the 12, that is the execution time for the RST instruction. So, in the first mission cycle we are reading the opcode, but here it represents, this is a interrupt acknowledgement signal. From based on the status signal S0 S1 along with the IO memory bar, if all signals are high level, it is a interrupt acknowledgement. If it is 0 1 1, it represents the opcode fetch. So, in the first cycle we are writing the program counter value, which is the opcode, the RST opcode will be written on here. This is the opcode cycle, this is a single byte instruction. So, based on the single byte instruction we need only a one mission cycle, but based on its operations here we have 2 more mission cycles. Suppose we are writing the RST instruction at 4028. 4028, suppose you are writing the interrupt as EF. So, how we are writing here 28, here 40. This is the program counter address where the program is continuing the execution. Then we have to write the opcode here EFH. So, after that the INTR signal is high, it represents the interrupt is requested, then it send the interrupt acknowledgement signal. After sending the acknowledgement signal, now this is the time to calculate or identify the address where to switch over. So, the corresponding interrupt request is identified, then the corresponding interrupt service routine address is calculated, which is stored in the stack pointer. Now, we have to pop the data from the stack pointer. In the stack pointer, how we are storing the data means with the principle of last in first out. Last in first out means which data you have stored in the last, you have to read it as a first. So, usually how we are storing the 16 bit data means first we are loading the 8 bit lower byte data, then higher byte data. So, first we are loading the or push the data of lower, then higher. So, first lower data, then higher data. Now, we have to take the data, first we have to read the higher data, then we have to take the lower data. That is why here the data is in the reversed. Suppose the EF address, which is a 5th interrupt, its address is 0018. 18 means here what we have to write one higher data 00, then 18. So, after getting this address, now the program the processor switch over to the ISR, interrupt service routine. So, this is the timing diagram. So, this is a M1 cycle. M1 cycle only consists of the opcode sheet. So, opcode of the corresponding instruction, here the interrupt is identified, then it activates the acknowledgement signal. Once the acknowledgement signal is active, received to the peripheral device, now the peripheral device has to generate the address. So, for that it has 2 remaining mission cycles. This indicates the interrupt signal. 111 represents the IO/memory bar S1 and S2. These all signals are high. Suppose the signal 011 means it represents the opcode fetch. Here there is no read and write operation is performed, only the signal is enabled. The ALE signal is always high to represents the to demultiplex the address and data lines. This is a M2 mission cycle, it has 3 T states. Here what we are doing means we have to collect the interrupt service routine address. For that we are using M2 and M3. With the help of stack pointer we are reading. So, for that first we are taking the higher data, then we are taking the lower data. The corresponding address is suppose 0028 means first we will take 00, then we are taking the 28H. So, here we are performing the memory read operations, because we are read the data from the stack pointer. So, in M2 and M3 mission cycles we are writing the data. So, the memory write bar is active on the M2 and M3 mission cycle. So, this is the interrupt sequence. Already we have discussed when any one of the peripheral device want to service any particular driver program, then it interrupt the processor or it requires the processor to do that work. So, that time the processor complete its work, then switch over to the specified location. If the location is known, that is a vector address, if it is unknown, that is a non-vector address. So, based on that, how it is performing during the switchover, it will push the data into the stack pointer. With the help of stack pointer only, it will switch over from the main program to the sub program or interrupt service routine. So, during this process, the processor will do the interrupt as a 8 sequences or 8 steps. We will discuss the what are the steps in the interrupt sequence. The interrupt process should be enabled by using an EI instruction. EI is the interrupt enable instruction, which is to enable the interrupt enable flip-flop. So, after enabling that, now the 8085 checks the INTR signal during the execution of every instruction. Whether it is low, it will continue its current work. If it is high, means it has to respond for the request. It will check the interrupt request on every mission cycle or every instruction. In the third step, the processor identify the whether the INTR is high. If the INTR is high, means then it completes its current instruction, then disable the interrupt enable flip-flop, then send the INTA. So, it process the 3 work. First it complete current work, then disable the interrupt enable flip-flop, then only it send the interrupt acknowledgement signal. This interrupt acknowledgement signal is connected to the IO device. The next fourth step, now the INTA signal allow the IO device or enable the IO device. Now, the IO device will send the RST signal, because this is a software interrupt. So, upon receiving the INTA signal, the MP saves the memory location of the next instruction on the stack, then the program is transferred to the call instruction or the interrupt service routine instruction, which is calculated from the RST. In the INTA signal, enable the buffer will generate the RST signal. After identifying the RST signal, it is multiplied with the 8, then we are getting the ISR, interrupt service routine address. After identifying the address, now the processor will switch over to the address. This is a 6th step, the processor perform the ISR. Once it enter into the interrupt service routine, in the 7th step, again we have to write the EI instruction in the subprogram. EI is interrupt enable, which is used to enable the interrupt again. So, during the process of interrupt, we are disable the interrupt. After identifying the corresponding interrupt, after calculating the address where to switch over, now we are enabling the interrupt, it is ready to receive the next interrupt request. So, the EI instruction is enable to interrupt the again. At the end of the subprogram, we have to write the RET instruction, which is a return instruction. It should be written at the end of the subroutine, which allows the processor to retrieve the proper address of the main program from the stack pointer. So, the return instruction is used to return back to the proper place of the main program. So, here we are calculating the pulse width for the INTR. The processor, what is the pulse width of INTR? The processor checks the INTR line 1 clock pulse before the last T state of each mission cycle. So, totally it has 18 T states. So, the number of T states for the INTR is 18 T states. So, this is the longest instruction in the 8085. So, based on the 18 T, we can easily calculate the execution time for the INTR. Once the INTR is active, means how long it take or how much of time is required to complete this work is 5.8 microseconds. That is 18 T state is multiplied with the internal clock frequency, which is 0.33 microseconds calculated from the operating frequency of microprocessor 8085. The operating frequency is 3 megahertz. So, the clock period T is 1 by f. So, f is 3 megahertz. So, 1 by 3 is 0.33 microsecond. So, after enabling that, how long can the INTR remain high? The INTR line must be deactivated before the EI instruction is executed. Otherwise, the processor will be repeated again and again. That is why in the second step, we are disabling the EI instruction, then we are sending the interrupt acknowledgement signal. Once the process starts to respond the INTR interrupt, then the INTA signal become low. After getting the interrupt acknowledgement signal, then it will disable the INTR signal. This is a simple diagram based on the discussion. This is the IO device processor. If the IO device want the request, it send the high signal on the INTR signal, because this is active high signal. So, it send the high signal on the INTR. After getting the acceptance from the peripheral device, the processor complete its current work, then it send the low signal on the INTA signal, which represents it now it ready to process with the IO device. So, once received the interrupt acknowledge signal, the IO device must send the low signal for the INTR signal. If it is low means now the INTR signal will be disabled, the processor get the request from the other devices. This is a summary of the interrupts. What are the interrupts we have discussed in 8085 till now? The 8085 has 5 interrupts which are named as trap, RST 7.5, 5.5, 6.5 and INTR. These 5 are the interrupt signals. So, based on the maskable or non-maskable, how we are enabling by EI or DI instructions, it is classified as maskable or non-maskables. What are the interrupts of maskable interrupt means RST 7.5, 6.5, 5.5 and INTR signal. These all are maskable interrupts because we can enable or disable by EI and DI instructions. The trap is the non-maskable interrupt which cannot be disabled by the software. Then it again classified whether it known the jumping address or known the interrupt service address or not. Based on that, it classified as vector address or non-vector address. So, what are the vector address means? These 4 RST 7.5, 6.5, 5.5 and a trap. These 4 are the trap, RST 5.5, 6.5 and 7.5. These 4 are the vector address. It have the specific location 003H, 0034, 002C and 0024. The INTR is a non-vector address. This is a external device need to calculate the address. So, after identifying the number, it will be multiplied with 8. So, first address is 0, 8, 10, 18, 20, 28, 30, 38. These 8 are the RST instruction vector address. Then based on the activation level, how we are enabling the interrupt is the RST 7.5, this level represents edge level triggering. So, this is a positive edge level triggering. So, RST 7.5 is activated by the positive level or edge level triggering. This is a high sensitive level triggering because it is a high level. RST 5.5 is high level sensitive triggering. Trap is both level sensitive and also edge triggering. So, edge triggering means the level is changing from low level to high level along with the high level sensitive. So, for this the trap request first it has to rise, then it has to maintain on the high level for few seconds. So, after the half of the period only the trap will be enabled, then the corresponding interrupt service will be processed. The INTR is a level sensitive interrupt. The color number represents the priority of the interrupts. So, this block represents EI instruction. So, this interrupt is enabled by using the EI enable interrupt. So, this is one of the input for the maskable interrupts. So, this is RS flip flop, the set signal is connected with the interrupt enable interrupt, then reset is connected with the DI instruction or reset or interrupt is recognized. Any one of the signal is considered for the OR signal, that is why we are connecting as a OR gate. If any one of the signal is active, then it will be the Q signal will be 1, that is this is a RS flip flop. So, in the RS flip flop S is 1, R is 0 means the Q value is 1, that is set state, it will enable the flip flop. If S is 0, R is 1 means this is a reset state. So, that time Q is 0, so it will disable the or it will send the 0 signal which will use to disable the flip flop. Next one is multiple interrupts. So, the processor process only one interrupt at a time. Suppose more than one interrupt or two interrupt request the processor to do the service or the request at the same time, the processor cannot perform. So, that time or congestion is occurred or it may be collapsed. To avoid that, in 8085 interrupts are arranged in the priority levels. Then once the number of requests are occurred to the processor, based on the priority level the processor will accept. So, how it is accept means based on the highest priority level. It will accept the highest priority level first, then the next priority level. Suppose two interrupts are sending the request at the same time, one is having the high level interrupt, another one is low level. At the time automatically the processor will accept only the high level interrupt request, the low level interrupt will be ignored at that time. So, again it has to send the request. These are the 5 interrupts in 8085: trap, RST 7.5, 6.5, 5.5 and INTR. These interrupts only enabling the send the request signal to the processor. In the red color number represents the priority levels. The trap has the highest priority, which is number 1, RST 7.5 is 2, RST 6.5 is 3, RST 5.5 is 4 and INTR is the 5th interrupt, which is the lowest level. So, based on these priority levels, any one of the interrupt will be recognized at a time. So, how it will select the particular interrupt? Suppose 2 and 3 may request at the time. So, how it will select the particular interrupt to be processed? For that they are using the priority encoder. The priority encoder consists of the encoder, buffer and data bus signals. So, the priority encoder, which is a 8x3 input, this is a priority encoder which has a 8 inputs with the 3 output lines. The input lines are connected as a interrupt levels, interrupt 0 to interrupt 7. Then any one of the interrupt is active means that will be low, the corresponding number will be passed as a output line. Suppose 4 is selected means 100 will be given as a output. So, if any one of the signal is low, then automatically it send the INTR signal which is connected to the processor. Then the processor complete its current work, then it will send the interrupt acknowledgement signal. This interrupt acknowledgement signal is connected to the enabling signal of the buffer. Once the process send the interrupt acknowledgement signal, next step we have to calculate the address, RST address. So, for that this buffer will be enabled. This INTA signal is connected to the enabling signal of the buffer. Once this is enabled means whatever the input it simply passed as the output, that is the buffer work. So, now we have discussed as a number 4. So, 100 is available on A2 to A0, it will be passed as here also 100. The next step, defaultly this signal is passed to the data lines. So, we have 8 data lines. Among the 8 data line, D0 to D3, D0 to D7 we have 8 data lines. D0, D1, D2 is connected with the high level, D3, D4, D5 is connected with the encoder output lines via the buffer, D6, D7 is connected with the active high signals. So, the 5 signals are high level, only these 3 signals will be changed to select the 8 interrupts, because 2 power 3 is 8. So, we can select the 8 interrupts. Now, I am saying this interrupt 4 is enable. 4 is enable means only this signal will be 0, or we are sending the low level because this is active low signal. By sending low, this will be enable. So, 4 is enable means 1 1 0 0. This is the output of the encoder. At the time it send the INTR signal to the processor. The processor after performing its request, it send the acknowledgement signal. After enabling this acknowledgement signal, this buffer will pass the signal 100 as a output. Already we have a signal 1 1 1 1 1 signal. Now, the value was 0 0 1. So, what is the value of this? 1 1 1 0 0 1 1. Now, we have to read the values as a hexadecimal from lower byte 0 1 1 1. So, 7, this one is 1 1 1 0, this is the E7H, this is for 4th one. So, RST4 have the value RST4 as the opcode value was E7. We will check it from the opcode sheet. This is a E4, RST4 have the value of E7. RST2 is D7. So, this will be available on the opcode sheet, you can easily verify. Suppose you want to find the opcode for RST5, RST5 means here fifth one should be 1. If you want to find the opcode for RST5, then this signal should be low, only I5 is selected. I5 is selected means is the corresponding binary equivalence 1 0 1, it will be passed as the output 1 0 1. Then it send the interrupt request signal to the processor, processor send the acknowledgement signal. After getting the acknowledgement signal, now we are getting the RST address opcode by using the buffer. So, the 1 0 1 is passed. So, the corresponding value is 1 0 1, remaining signal is defaultly high level. So, now read the value E F. So, RST 5 have the opcode is E F H. So, we are changing only the 3 inputs which is connected from D2, D3, D4 and D5 of the from the encoder. So, we are sending the I5 is low signal. So, the corresponding binary equivalent 1 0 1 is generated, remaining signal is high, from that we are calculated the value as E F. So, for RST 5 we have the E F signal. So, from this opcode sheet you can identify whether it is properly received or not. So, the RST 5 we have the E F H. So, this is a way we are calculating the RST opcode, along with that how the processor is considered for the priorities. At the time 2 or more signal is sending low signal means it automatically ignore the lower level interrupts. This is a simple steps what we have discussed in the priority encoder. So, the priority encoder is a 8x3 encoder. So, among that 8 is 8 input lines which are connected to the interrupts RST 0 to RST 7, then 3 outputs which is only one output is selected at the time. The output of the encoder address lines A0 to A2 is connected to the data line D3, D4 and D5 through the tri-state buffer. The tri-state buffer is enabled by the INTA signal which is active low signal generated from the processor. If any one of the input is low, then the corresponding number is placed on the data bus through the tri-state buffer from the output of the encoder. If simultaneously number of inputs are active or generating high level, then the encoder responds only to the higher level interrupts and ignore the lower level interrupts. So, during the implementation of this for the priority encoder, we have to additionally use a separate IC which is 8214 with the status register and priority comparator. So, the cost is increased when the number of circuits are increased, the complexity also increased. So, to avoid that, recently they are using the A8259 which is a programmable interrupt controller which is more supportive for generating the interrupts based on the priorities without any disturbance. So, in 8085 we have a 4 instructions to activate the interrupt process. The first one is EI instruction, another one is DI, SIM and RAM. These 4 are the instructions. The first one is enable interrupt. EI is a enable interrupt which is used to enable the interrupt. This is a single byte instruction which is used to set the interrupt enable flip-flop. When the signal is 1 means it will set. Usually in the flip-flops, when the value is 1 means it represents set. When the value is 0, it is used to represent reset. So, when we are putting 1, this is a enable the flip-flop which is used to set the flip-flop, and also it is used to enable the interrupt process. Let us summarize today's episode, what we have discussed in today's session. So, we have discussed only the software interrupts, how we are activating the software interrupt, after that how the processor will respond. Along with that, we have discussed the priority of the interrupts. Questions: what is software interrupt? Can you write the opcode for RST2 instruction? Explain the types of interrupts. How can you generate the vector address for RST instruction? Thank you.